All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're back on the record for the afternoon docket. My name is Judge Jackie Powell, and I will start this afternoon with the first appearance docket. When I call your name, I'm going to ask you to come up, and then we will address each person individually. So we will start this afternoon with Karen Rieger. Is she?
Good afternoon, Judge. She's here present with us here at Maine.
All right, Ms. Rieger, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Judge.
Ma'am, you're before the court for one count of disorderly conduct, and count 2 is trespassing. And I do find probable cause. What does Ms. Rieger wish to do?
Judge, my understanding, and speaking Ms. Rieger, this is her first time being arrested. She's here on vacation. She's from New York. I did advise her, considering her clean record, I could potentially ask the court to ROR her. I believe she also has money in her property she could self-bond. But she wanted me to ask the court to consider resolving this case today. So she's looking for a plea offer, Judge.
Okay.
Offer B, withhold court costs.
She wishes to accept the offer, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Rieger, do you need more time to speak with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
So now a record is $298. It's $298.
The court cost is $298.
And there would be no.
It's not a conviction, but it's going to be on your criminal history sheet.
Okay, but it's not a conviction. Okay, that's
Okay,
That's
so
good.
do you need more time to speak to me about it?
no.
Okay, then let the judge know.
No, I don't, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Rieger, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Ms. Rieger, do you understand the proceedings that we're in today?
I do.
And do you need more time to speak with your attorney?
No, I do not.
Is anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
And do you understand that you have the right to go to trial, but by taking a plea today, you are giving up that right?
I understand that.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No, I have not.
And do you understand that if you're not a U.S. citizen, by taking a plea, it could subject you to immigration changes?
I do understand that.
Okay, so what plea do you wish to enter at this time, Ms. Rieger?
No contest.
All right, ma'am, I accept your no contest plea. Find that it's freely and voluntarily given. Your sentence will be a withhold adjudication and court costs. Good luck, ma'am. Okay. Adriana Boyd.
Miss Boyd is here present, Judge. She's approaching. Come on up, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Boyd. You're before the court for one count of assault on an officer. Count 2 is petty theft. Count 3 is resisting officer without violence. And count 4 is disorderly conduct.
Judge, and speaking with Miss Boyd, she said she was in contact already with her mother and boyfriend, and we're asking if confinement status can check to see if her bond's been posted already.
Okay. It's not showing yet, but I do find probable cause, and the bonds. Oh, the bond is $100. And during the pendency of this case, no return to that T. Amour nail salon. Okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
This is just if you were still inside.
Desiree Bynum.
She bonded, Judge.
All right. Kim Gethers.
She bonded as well.
Okay.
Of course he did. They said they have a second look scheduled, so they said go to court.
Tara Carson.
Stay here, be upset.
She bonded as well.
Okay.
And Mr. Reedy, we're going to be requiring a Spanish interpreter here at the main jail.
I understand you're frustrated, but you're frustrated at the right people. You didn't.
Janet Sanders.
She's approaching, Judge. She's here at Maine.
All right.
He's up for a second look.
She's here, Judge.
Ms. Sanders, you're before the court for one count of possession of cocaine, and counts 2, 3, and 4 are felony capious matters. Those are no bond holds and not for magistrate. I do find probable cause as to count 1. Your bond there is $1,000, and you should be before your division judge tomorrow at 8:30.
Good luck, man.
Okay. Maloney Norris. Melanie.
She's approaching, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Norris, you're before the court for one count of possession of PVP, count 2, possession of MDMA, count 3, possession of drug paraphernalia, count 4 is a felony violation of probation. I do find probable cause, and your bonds on counts 1, 2, 3 will remain 1,000, 1,000, and 100. Count 4 is a no bond hold, and you should be before your felony judge tomorrow at 8:30. Good luck. Shelda Lusant.
Paul Ryan.
All right.
Ms. Lusant, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you, Judge?
I'm good. You're before the court for one count of dealing in stolen property, and count 2 is false owner information for pawn items. I do find probable cause as to these 2 counts.
Your Honor, I spoke with Miss Louisant's brother-in-law. He says he has bonded her out.
Okay. All right. Well, it's probably not showing yet. It's not showing yet, but I've been told, Ms. Lusant, that your bond is being posted or has already been posted.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, John.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Anton Jeffers. Okay.
Anton Jeffers is here, present at Maine, Judge. Mr. Jeffers? I think it's here. I spoke to him.
His bond has been
Oh, he
posted.
just went to the restroom.
His bond has been posted.
We'll let him know.
Okay. Watley Nordalus.
Mr. Nordless, come on up, please. He's approaching, Judge.
Mr. Nordalus, you're before the court for one count of trespassing on occupied structure or conveyance. I do find probable cause. What does Mr. Nordalus wish to do?
Judge, in speaking Mr. Nordless, he wishes to resolve this matter today.
Okay. State, do you have an offer for Mr. Nordalus?
Would be time served.
All right.
He wishes to accept the state's offer, Judge.
All right, Mr. Nordalus, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Of course, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to speak with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to go to trial? By taking a plea today, you are giving up that right.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No, ma'am.
And do you understand that if you're not a U.S. citizen, by taking a plea, it could subject you to immigration changes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what plea do you wish to enter, sir?
Contest.
All right, I accept your no contest plea. Find that it's freely and voluntarily given, and your sentence, sir, will be adjudication and time served. Good luck. Dominic Falcone.
Mr. Falcone is approaching, Judge.
Mr. Falcone, you're before the court for one count of DUI, alcohol or drugs. Count 2 is DUI with a blood alcohol with a breath alcohol balance of greater than 0.15, and count 3 is a misdemeanor KPS on a municipal ordinance matter. I do find probable cause. Does the parties wish to be heard as to Mr. Falcone's bond?
Yes, Judge. And speaking of Mr. Falcone, unfortunately, he's not going to be in a position to afford to post a monetary bond. Now, he lives with his mother, and from what he advised me, she's working, but right now with paying all the bills and with the financial expenses, she cannot afford to post his monetary bond. He's 25 years old. He's been living in our community for the past 13 years. Now, he works at a place called The Deck, which is a restaurant. He's been there for 4 months. He really wants to get back out to try and work. He fears that being incarcerated is going to jeopardize his employment. Judge, for the following reason, that's why we're asking the court to consider releasing him on pretrial release.
Your Honor, I don't have an objection pre-trial with random testing.
Okay. All right, Mr. Falcone, I find probable cause, and you'll be released from pretrial supervision. You must report within 24 hours, otherwise you will be arrested. And that also includes random drug and alcohol testing, okay? Yes. James Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, James Johnson. He's approaching, Judge, municipal ordinance.
Sorry, sir.
Mr. Johnson, good afternoon, sir.
How you doing?
You're before the court for a misdemeanor capias.
Beg your pardon?
You're before the court this afternoon for a misdemeanor capias. You failed to go to court on February 18th, 2019. The charge was possession of a paraphernalia.
Yeah, but I didn't receive the mail that by my court appearance. They mailed to the wrong address. So they told me downstairs. They mailed my mail to the wrong address, so I didn't know.
Well, what is the correct address?
1419 Northwest 19th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale Beach, Florida.
That's the address it was mailed to.
No, they downstairs they said it was 409.
Well, that's the address I have that you just told me. But in either case, what do you wish to do today, Mr. Johnson?
I want to get rid of the problem.
You're getting ready to what?
See, I want to get rid of the problem. What can I do to solve the problem?
Okay. Well, does that mean you want to resolve your case today?
Yeah, I can.
All right. If you wish to resolve your case, Mr. Johnson, your sentence will be adjudication and time served.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
All right. You can put your hand down. Mr. Johnson, do you understand the proceedings that we're in today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No.
And do you understand that if you're not a U.S. citizen, that by taking a plea, it could subject you to immigration changes?
Yes.
All right. And then what plea do you wish to enter? Guilty or no contest?
No contest.
All right. I accept your no contest plea. I find that it's freely and voluntarily given. Your sentence will be adjudication and time served. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Jesse Mercer.
Bonded, Judge.
Okay. How about Gonzalez Medina?
He's here present, Judge Amin.
All right, Mr. Medina, you're before the court for one count of touch or strike battery. The court does find probable cause, and I've been advised, Mr. Medina, that your bond has been posted.
Your Honor, I am going to ask, though, that the court
No
order...
contact with the victim in this case.
And I'm also going to ask that no return to America's Backyard nightclub.
America's No contact with the victim and no return to America's Backyard nightclub. Joseph Kirk.
Mr. Kirk, coming up.
Mr. Kirk, good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
You're before the court for one count of aggravated assault on an officer. Count 2 is resisting officer without violence. Count 3 is leaving the key running in the ignition on your car. Counts 4, 5, 6 are felony violation of pretrial, and 7 and 8 are traffic capious matters. Counts 4, 5, and 6 are no bond holds not for magistrate. I do find probable cause. Does the parties wish to be heard as to the bonds?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to be requesting a $15,000 bond. I do have concerns about Mr. Kirk's future appearance in court. I know he has no bond holds on other cases, but with regards to this case, the allegations are, while it would appear, while trying to avoid apprehension, he drove directly at and at a police officer, thereby establishing the grounds for aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer. I would also note the seriousness of the charges that he's out on pretrial: armed burglary, burglary of a dwelling, grand theft auto.
Judge, and speaking of Mr. Kirk, he's disputing these allegations. Judging from his reaction, Judge, he's looking forward to having his day in court. Considering he has no bond holds, Judge, I'm just going to be asking for a $1,000 bond on count 1.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize, looking at the warrant, just to further the argument about his future appearance in court and the lengths he'll go to avoid apprehension, he was ordered a First Step Sober House. He was discharged due to an overdose, and then it would appear that he cut off his GPS monitor.
All right, as to count 1, I am going to impose a $15,000 bond, and you should be before your felony judge tomorrow at 8:30. Jason Tapas.
Mr. Tapas is here present, Judge, at Maine, and he declined the service of public defender.
Mr. Tapas, good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Do you have a private attorney?
I'm going to get one.
All right. His bond is posted. All right, so Mr. Tapas, you're before the court for one count of driving while license suspended. Count 2 is failing to register motor vehicle. Count 3, which is not for magistrate, is failing to provide liability security. I do find probable cause, and I've also been informed that your bond has been posted. Good luck.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Kevin Scott.
He's approaching, Judge. He's here on me. Come on up, sir.
Mr. Scott, you are before the court this afternoon for one count of petty theft. Count 2 is possession of MDMA. Count 3 is possession of codeine. Count 4 is felony violation of probation. I do find probable cause. Count 4 is a no bond hold, and you will be before your division judge tomorrow, and I will leave the standard bonds in place on counts 1, 2, and 3. Good luck, sir. Mark Plummer. Mr. Plummer, you're before the court for one count of possession of cannabis, 20 grams or less. Count 2 is felony violation of probation. That's a no bond hold. Count 3 is failure to register motor vehicle. And count 4 is violation of felony probation. And there was a bond imposed in the amount of $2,000. So you do have one no bond hold. The other one has a $2,000 bond. I will leave the bonds in place, You should be before your division judge tomorrow at 8:30. Good luck, sir. Bryce Thibault,
I've been informed he bonded, Judge.
okay.
Sounds like you're saying something.
All right, we had some resets. Jaquan Thomas
Still,
is still on medical loan. Okay. Taiwan Williams,
Mr. Williams is here present at Maine, Judge.
All
Mr.
right.
Williams? Come on up, sir. He's approaching, Judge.
okay. Mr. Williams, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you're before the court for one count of possession of cocaine, and count two is possession of cannabis 20 grams or less. I do find probable cause. Does the parties wish to be heard as to bond?
Yeah, I'm going to be requesting the court consider releasing Mr. Williams on pretrial release. He's been here his whole entire life. He's 26 years old. Right now, he works at a car wash. His finances are quite limited. He lives in Lauderhill with his sister. His sister is basically she's financially taking care of the majority of the bills. She works at McDonald's. She doesn't have the financial resources to post his monetary bond. Considering nonviolent offense, that is why I'm asking the court to consider releasing Mr. Williams on pretrial release.
All right, I do find probable cause. I will release Mr. Williams on pretrial supervision, and that's going to include random drug and alcohol testing.
Thank you, Judge.
How about Dermel Grahai? He's still on
Still
loan?
medical loan.
All right, then we'll go to our hearing docket. Let's start with the felony hearing docket first. On page 1, we have Dion Brown.
Mr. Dion Brown, come on up, please. He's approaching, Judge. He's here on Maine.
All right.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown was arrested on January 2nd. He is before the court for a 30-day motion for release. What's his status?
Your Honor, we've not filed an information on this charge yet. He's entitled to a release on this charge.
Is,
Judge, may I have 1 second to speak to Mr. Brown to let him know I believe he has a no bond hold. I want to see if he wants me to go forward.
that was my question.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, do I have the orders? Thank you.
Judge, and speaking of Mr. Brown, I did advise him that since he is going to be held in custody, he's not going to be getting credit for the other case. So at this time, we are not proceeding forward on this 30-day ROR motion, Judge.
All right, so we'll take no action.
Thank you, Judge.
Javon Springer.
Mr. Springer is approaching, Judge.
How you doing? Good morning, Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Springer.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry.
Mr. Springer was arrested on January 19th, and so he's before the court today for a 30-day motion. What's the status?
Information has been filed, Judge.
Okay, when was the information filed, just for his information?
Let me check. Yesterday, Judge.
All right, so Mr. Springer, the information was filed yesterday on your case, all right? Jonathan Plancher,
He bonded out.
all right? Calvin Williams,
Conti, I believe, Judge.
Conti, Your Honor.
all right?
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams was arrested on February 2nd, and so he's here for a 30-day release motion. What's the status?
Information was filed yesterday, Judge.
All right, Mr. Williams, you were brought before the court today for a 30-day motion for release, but the information has been filed, so no action will be taken today, okay?
Okay.
Gregory Anderson,
He's approaching, Judge, here at Maine.
Mr. Anderson is also in the same situation. He was arrested on February 2nd. Is Mr. Anderson being held on something else? This says counts 2 and 3.
He has 2 cases, Your Honor.
Okay,
But on this case, an information was filed yesterday.
okay. All right. So, Mr. Anderson, the information has been filed, so no action to take today. John McFadden,
Mr. McFadden's here at Maine. Mr. McFadden, come on up, please.
all right, Mr. McFadden was arrested on March 4th, so I believe he's here for a second look.
Yes, he's actually on both dockets, Your Honor. He's got a $1,000 bond on tampering with or fabricating evidence on the felony docket, and a $1,000 bond on a capias for a failure to appear in a DWLS on the misdemeanor docket. I believe the court kept the bonds in place because at the time of this arrest, Mr. McFadden was already out on a pending fleeing and eluding law enforcement, resisting without violence, another DWLS, and reckless driving. He was on pretrial in that case. He violated pretrial in that case by a new domestic violence battery arrest in early February. He is now out on all those charges for a total bond of $4,250.
All right, so today I'm not going to make any changes as to the bond status that is currently in place. Okay, just a moment, please. Daniel Serpa,
Mr. Serpa is here, and he's the gentleman that's going to require Spanish interpreter,
all
Judge.
right, so,
Toma asiento, por favor.
all right, Mr. Interpreter, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to affirm to translate from Spanish to English and English to Spanish?
I do, Esteban Rojas.
Okay, Mr. Rojas, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Mr. Serpa, good afternoon.
Buenas tardes, señor Serpa.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Serpa was arrested on March
señor-
4th,
El señor Serpa fue detenido el 4 de marzo
and he's being brought before the court today for a second look on his bond status.
y está ante el tribunal hoy para una segunda vista sobre su situación con su fianza.
All right, how much bond does Mr. Serpa have at this time?
¿Cuál es el monto de la fianza en este momento?
Your Honor,
I believe it's 9,000.
How much?
9,000.
9,000.
Okay,
I believe the main reason, Your Honor, kept his bond in place
Creo que la razón principal por la cual su señoría mantuvo su fianza tal cual
is that out of Dade County, Mr. Serpa in 1995
fue porque en el condado de Dade el señor Serpa en 1995
was convicted of second-degree murder,
fue condenado por homicidio en segundo grado
sentenced to 30 years in Florida State Prison,
y se le sentenció a descontar 30 años de prisión en la prisión estatal de Florida
and was released from state prison on May 20th of 2015.
y fue liberado de la prisión del estado de Florida el 20 de mayo del 2015.
Judge, right
I got
now,
a moment.
Judge, from what Mr. Serpa advised me, he's homeless.
Señora juez, según lo que me informa el señor Serpa, él no tiene hogar.
There's no one that's going to be able to post his monetary bond.
No hay nadie disponible para pagar su fianza.
He works off and on in construction, Judge,
Él trabaja intermitentemente en construcción,
but he cannot financially post his own bond.
pero no puede económicamente afrontar su propia fianza.
Now, though he's homeless, he does have a mailing address. He has family that reside in Miami, so he has a way of getting court notices.
Ahora, pese a que es indigente, él sí tiene una dirección de correo físico. Él tiene parientes que viven en Miami, así que tiene cómo le avisen.
So, Judge, that is why I'm asking for the court to consider releasing him on pretrial release.
Así que, señora juez, por eso es que estoy solicitando que la corte considere la posibilidad de liberarlo bajo medidas cautelares.
Your Honor, I would just note then, Mr. Serpa being homeless did not prevent him from getting a total of 4 fraudulent credit cards.
Su señoría, yo señalaría que la condición de indigente del señor Serpa no le impidió obtener un total de 4 tarjetas de crédito fraudulentas,
Including the one used in this case that was embossed with his name.
incluida la que se utilizó en este caso, que tenía con relieve el nombre de él.
That he attempted to use to obtain a Range Rover at a Hertz rental at the airport.
E intentó utilizarla para obtener un Range Rover en una agencia Hertz en el aeropuerto.
All right. The request to release him on pretrial is being denied, and the bonds will remain in place.
Se rechaza la solicitud de liberarlo bajo medidas cautelares y la fianza se mantendrá tal cual.
Does anyone
Another
else?
gentleman that requires a Spanish interpreter,
Okay.
and his name is Jose Guaburo, and he's also on the felony second look. Come on up. Ven aquí, por favor.
All right, Mr. Goburo, good afternoon.
Señor Goburo, buenas tardes.
Mr. Goburo was arrested on March 4th,
El señor Goburo fue arrestado el 4 de marzo
and so he's brought before the court today
y ha sido traído ante la corte hoy
for a second look on his bond status.
para una segunda vista con respecto a su fianza.
Judge, I believe the total bond which is holding him is $2,100.
Yes.
Señor juez, creo que la fianza total bajo la cual él se mantiene en la cárcel es de $2,100. Sí, es correcto.
He cannot post that bond as evidence him still being in custody, and his girlfriend who he lives with cannot afford to post that bond.
Él no tiene la capacidad de pagar esa fianza, tal y como queda evidenciado por el hecho de que todavía está encarcelado y la novia con quien vive tampoco lo puede hacer.
Now, he is working. He works part-time as a mechanic.
Sí trabaja a medio tiempo como mecánico.
And from what he advised me, he gets about $150 per week.
Y según me informa, se le pagan aproximadamente $150 por semana como mecánico.
He's 53 years old and living in South Florida for the past 22 years.
Tiene 53 años, ha vivido en el sur de Florida durante los últimos 22 años.
Now, from what he advised me, Judge, he has, I guess, a prior contact with the criminal justice system. But from what he advised me, it's been a number of years.
Ahora, según me informa él, su señoría, él sí ha tenido contacto anteriormente con el sistema penal, sin embargo, según lo que me dice, fue hace varios años.
And therefore, we're asking for the court to consider releasing him on pretrial release.
Por lo tanto, estamos solicitando que la Corte considere la posibilidad de liberarlo bajo medidas cautelares.
Your Honor, I believe the $1,500 bond on the battery on a law enforcement officer charge is reasonable.
Su señoría, yo creo que la fianza de $1,500 por el delito de lesiones en contra de un oficial de policía es razonable,
Considering the allegation that he spit in the police officer's face,
dado el hecho de que se le acusa de haber escupido en la cara del oficial
and noting his criminal history,
y tomando nota de su historial penal.
2016 felony theft,
Hurto en grado de felonía en el 2016,
2015 theft,
en el 2015 hurto,
2012 burglary and grand theft.
En el 2012, hurto en morada y hurto mayor.
17 and a half months state prison.
Se le impusieron 17 meses y medio en la prisión estatal de Florida.
Theft and resisting without violence, 2013.
Hurto y resistirse a la detención sin violencia en el 2013.
Your Honor, he has multiple priors that precede that. He's been to state prison.
Su señoría, incluso antes de ese punto, también tiene múltiples antecedentes. Ha estado encarcelado en la prisión estatal.
And just looking at his booking sheet, he has used numerous aliases in the
Y
past.
con solo ver su ficha penal, él ha utilizado varios alias diferentes en el pasado.
All right. I am going to deny the request for pretrial supervision today, and the bonds will remain in place.
Bien, voy a rechazar hoy la solicitud de liberación bajo medidas cautelares y la fianza se mantendrá tal cual.
Is there anyone else who needs a Spanish interpreter?
¿Alguien más necesita intérprete?
No one else at Maine.
All right, thank you. Evan, well, where were we on the docket? Evan,
Tiana Williams.
Tiana Williams.
She's in Paul Run.
All right. Miss Williams was arrested on March 4th. She has 2,200 in bonds. What's the status here?
Judge, she's been calling everybody she knows to try and get bonded out, and it's just not working. She doesn't know anybody who's going to be able to bond her out. I'm going to ask the court to consider pretrial release for Miss Williams. She's been a resident of South Florida all of her life. She has lived for the last 6 months in the same location. And from what she tells me and from what I see, aside from some juvenile charges back in 2007, 8, and 10, she really doesn't have much of a contact with the criminal justice system. So I'd ask the court to consider releasing her. Random testing, Miss Williams and I talked about that, and she has no problem with that.
I don't have an objection to pretrial with random testing, Judge.
Okay.
Don't miss court, Tiana.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Williams, I will grant your release to pretrial supervision without posting a bond. You need to report to pretrial offices within 24 hours of your release, otherwise you will be arrested. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's also going to include random drug testing.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, Ismael Rivas.
He's approaching, Judge. He's here at Maine. Come on up, sir.
All right, Mr. Rivas is back for a second look on his bond status.
Correct, Judge. He's
Yes,
here on a felony petty theft.
Yeah, $750 in bond.
Yes.
Bond, correct. He's. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Hector, it's fine.
Oh, we're asking for pretrial release, Judge. We know he has a record, but no one can afford to post his bond. He's right now working. He's employed at a restaurant called Rosie's. He lives in Wilton Manors. He's been there for 6 months in an apartment. So, Judge, that's why we're asking on this nonviolent offense to consider releasing Mr. Rivas on pretrial release.
And, Your Honor, my concern, the information I provided the court at his first appearance, he has a pending felony criminal mischief right now. The allegation in that case is that he shattered someone's hurricane impact window in Wilton Manors. He also just got released from custody in Palm Beach County on a grand theft. He also had a grand theft out of Palm Beach in 2017. Last year in Dade County, he had a possession of cocaine in 2 separate misdemeanor theft cases. I did a little bit more research. I saw the allegations in his pending felony criminal mischief case, which gives me concern about any information he provides today as far as his personal information. He advised the arresting officer in that case that he resides at the Salvation Army. The arresting officer in that case reached out to the director at the Salvation Army, who confirmed he's never been there.
All right. No change. The bond is $750. All right, Naranjo, Goburo.
Oh, we already did him. He was the Spanish interpreter client.
I've got Evan Sides.
Oh, you know what, I didn't. Jordan Edwards.
Mr. Edwards is here present at me. Come on up, sir.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, Mr. Edwards.
Good afternoon.
What's Mr. Edwards?
I think he's got a $1,000 bond on a grand theft. He has a he's a very lengthy drug history, Your Honor.
Judge, I believe Mr. Edwards, I didn't ask for anything. He gave me the phone number of his friend Tom to help post his monetary bond. I reached out to Tom. Unfortunately, Tom can't post his bond, so at this time, I'm going to be asking the court to consider releasing Mr. Edwards on pre-trial release.
So the court's aware, from what I can tell out of Broward County, Mr. Edwards has been sentenced to state prison on 7 prior cases, and on 5 of those cases, he was designated a habitual offender.
And Judge, from what Mr. Edwards is telling me, and certainly Mr. Lender is going to correct me if this is incorrect, from what he's saying, he's never had a violent offense, primarily drug offenses. Right now, he is looking for work. What he does is he works in landscaping whenever a gentleman calls him for work. He lives in
Under the table. Excuse me. It's under the table, sir. No disrespect. No disrespect. It's under the table. It's not a.
Okay, I think
he just comes get me like on a Friday or something.
I think you made it clear, sir. He lives in Pompano Beach, Judge, with his grandmother, and his grandmother's not going to be able to afford to post his bond. So that's why Mr. Edwards is requesting pretrial release, Judge.
Your Honor, reviewing the PC, I think what might have caused this, Your Honor, some concern also, it alleges that, very last sentence, he was stole property from a Home Depot, got on his bicycle to leave, and was being followed by a loss prevention officer. It mentions continued westbound through the parking lot while the loss prevention officer was calling the police. It was then that the defendant got from his bicycle and told the loss prevention specialist that was following him that he was going to beat his, and ends that with a certain part of his body if he continued to follow him.
All right. At this time, Mr. Edwards, I'm going to deny the motion for release. Your bond is $1,000. James Miller.
Mr. Miller, come on up, please.
All right, Mr. Miller is here. He was arrested on March 4th on a petty theft, and he's got a bond amount of $750. Is this a felony?
Correct.
Okay.
See what's going on.
James Miller. Let's see if I have it.
Judge, I believe the items, the reason why it's a theft is clothes out of Walmart. Judge, and speaking of Mr. Miller, he is homeless. He gets mail at the Hollywood shelter where he can make sure he can appear for future court notices. He's 64 years old. He's been Right now, he's in the process of applying for Social Security. He has no money in bank, no property, so Mr. Miller is requesting the court consider releasing him on pretrial release.
I'm looking at my notes. He's got a warrant right now out of the state of South Carolina. I believe he has priors in other states. Yeah. He was just arrested November of last year. He was brought here from Lee County. Frankly, he was on a VOP from 1984. I'm not concerned about that case. It was an old case. What I'm concerned about is at that time, he was booked under the name Billy Starnes. He's now before the court booked under the name James Miller. I'm showing aliases for James Muir, Billy Starnes, Terry Paget, Jerry Long, Randy Lambert, and Fred Miller.
All right, I'm gonna deny the motion for RRR. Do we have Harold Clayson this morning? Or
Yes,
no?
Judge, he was a medical reset this morning.
Okay. It was on the second look docket.
Yeah, this second look is caught up with first appearance.
And then who else are we missing?
Evan Sides, and I believe we have Mr. Brenton Doe. I believe there's Shaquem Charles.
How about Rosario Panaccio?
I believe North Broward.
North Broward, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. should be Evan Sides, right?
All right. What is the, what's going on with Mr. Panaccio?
I'm going to defer to Mr.
Now you're on a grand theft.
Hector.
Hey, Hector, turn off your mic.
I believe his parents are here, so I'm going to defer to Mr. Reedy. I'm sure he has more information than I can provide.
Okay.
Yes, Judge, I did speak with his mother. She left.
Okay.
She indicated to me that she was not going to post a bond for Mr. Panaccio. Said a few other things that caused me some concern, but she is not going to be bonding him out, and I don't know that he's got anybody else who can bond him out. I think he was talking about calling his, was it your aunt or your godmother you were telling me, Rosario?
Yes.
If you want to give me that number, I'll make the call for you.
954.
Hold on. Go ahead.
309 1673.
What's her name?
Rosalie.
Rosalie?
Yeah. I mean, it's only $1,000, so it's $100. I would have bought myself out, but my debit card got delivered to my deceased father's house, so I never received my card.
Well, let me call your aunt and see if she's willing to bond you out. Otherwise, I'm going to have Mr. Farberek as your early representation unit attorney. I'm going to have him come up and see you just as soon as possible and talk about getting maybe an ROR or something like that.
Yeah, is there any chance of that happening?
I'm sorry?
An ROR for $100?
Not this afternoon.
No, I'm not. I'm denying that today. So you'll speak with your attorney, sir, and you guys can work that out.
All right, thank you.
All right. And then Brenton Doe on the misdemeanor docket?
This is...
Mr. Doe is here, present, Judge of Maine.
This is one of those tough situations we have here sometimes, Your Honor. He's got a resisting without violence in Broward, but from what I saw, he's got a parole violation also, a parole hold. And this is one of those situations where, while not the biggest issue in the world, the ramifications, obviously, on a parole could be significant.
Right. Right.
One moment, Judge.
Devin. Devin. Did you have? He was supposed to be in the docket, but he wasn't put on the clerk's docket. Shaquem Charles. Does he still have those juvenile holds in place? Does he still have the juvenile holds in place? So they're going to pick him up upon his release? Or they just want to be notified? Because, okay, thank you. Oh, I see now. No, because I see in BSO pics, I see where there's zeros, but it's NA, so I know it's not a whole.
Judge, I just explained to Mr. Doe potential consequences, and even though this is a misdemeanor offense, I advise him not to resolve this. At this time, Mr. Doe is asking the court not to take any action.
Okay. John McFadden?
He had a felony and...
Mr. McFadden? Oh, I think we did have it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Did we miss anyone?
Yes.
Who did we miss?
Mr.
Evan Sides?
Yes, Sides, correct.
All right, Mr. Sides has a grand theft with a $1,000 bond. Let's see if I think I have this.
He's got a $1,000 bond on a grand theft. The concern being that he just pled out a theft on February 7th. And I don't think he's been in Broward long. This was at a Lowe's.
What was the sentence on when you said he just win? When did he plead out the other case?
I believe he
February
got a
7th? And what was his sentence?
I believe a time served, Judge. But I just want to make the court aware, this was a grand theft happened at Lowe's. I believe the actual incident date was a couple weeks old, so it's not like he resolved this case, the petty theft, and then he went out and picked up a grand theft. I believe it was still around the same period in time. So, Judge, we're going to be asking for the court to consider releasing Mr. Sides on pretrial release.
He pled out a case February 7th.
And the date of offense on this case?
February 4th?
Yes.
So it predates it.
Yeah, but that case was pending at the time.
No, Your Honor.
No?
The other petty theft, excuse me, it was at a CVS. He was arrested on the 6th. That's when it occurred, and that's when he was arrested on scene.
Okay.
And pled out, I believe, at first appearance.
And this incident, I believe he wasn't there at the store, I believe, based on the detective identifying him through surveillance. Then he was picked up. But the actual date of incident precedes the CVS date.
Okay. All right, I will grant the pretrial. No. That's standard.
I think Your Honor already ordered to stay away from that.
I did, yeah. Okay.
He understands he can't.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I think that brings us to end of our docket.
Judge, North Broward indicates to me they have a gentleman by the name of Shaquem Charles.
He was excuse me, Your Honor. Pretrial put him on the docket for a second look.
Okay.
For whatever reason, when the clerk's office created the docket, he wasn't on there. It's a second look on a battery. because that's at the time.
How much bond is Mr. Charles on?
It was a $1,500 capious bond on an unserved issue summons, Judge. I'm showing when he was picked up, it looks like there were juvenile holds placed on him that are no longer in place. I guess he has pending juvenile matters, and DJJ is just asking what. You don't have it? Okay, I can print out a copy of the report. DJJ has requested the jail to be for them to be notified when he's eligible for release, and they will determine what actions they're going to take on those pending cases.
Is Mr. Charles, is he represented by the PDs, Mr. Reedy?
So unfortunately, I mean, nothing's showing an Odyssey. Unfortunately, I don't know why he wasn't. This was at a Judge Francois division.
Okay.
South. I don't know why he wasn't scheduled to either to Judge Pohl or some judge downtown.
Okay.
To have an arraignment judge, but that's.
But we do not represent him on this battery. It looks as though an affidavit for the public defender's office was never filled out. The last notice I have in Odyssey is from February 28th, saying the capias was served. So he's been in since the 28th.
So my understanding is DJJ is waiting to see what to do with him? Or do they just want us to tell him if we release him?
They just want to be notified if he's being released, and then I guess there's 3 different options for them. They have not, from what I saw in the document I was shown, they've not indicated which one of those 3 options are going to take.
All right.
Obviously, they include either secure detention, a program, or home detention.
Right.
So you're saying he has pending juvenile matters?
It would appear so. Yeah, if you look in,
Yeah, I don't.
If you can check it out, it shows the cases. There's no holds on it anymore, but it does list those cases.
I know in this case, the woman was punched and shoved, or pushed, and Mr. Charles is the one accused of doing the pushing, and the other gentleman is the one who did the punching.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, I'll allow Mr. Charles on this count.
Thank you, Judge.
So does that mean is the case going to go back to South Satellite then?
Yeah, unless the attorneys ask for it to be transferred to Central.
I just wanted so he's aware also.
Right. Unless it's transferred to Central, that's not gonna happen. Okay. All right, Mr. Charles, good luck, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Yes,
I have, I mean, if you want somebody gave me, I think, somebody left me this. This one was highlighted. So I have that.
It looks like from what they're telling me.
All right, I think that's it for our afternoon docket. Thank you, everyone.